All right, now about the backhaul. As we mentioned that there are headers, there are protocol semantics, and there are control channels. Three families of factors impacting the speed you're going to get in the backhaul in terms of overhead. Okay, and then there are also just non-ideal backhaul conditions, including congestion, for example. So we will have time to talk only about one tiny case, that is congestion regulation through TCP to deal with non-ideal backhaul situation. Okay, and you can imagine how much damage all the rest can add up to. All right, we're going to walk through three very quick examples about the TCP. First one is there's something called receiver window. Now we talked about the CWND back in lecture 14. That's the congestion control window. That is on the transmitter side to say that don't talk faster than the network can handle. There's also a receiver limitation that says don't talk faster than what the receivers have buffer for. Okay. So for a single TCP session, the maximum window is limited to 2 to the 16th power minus 1. Okay, because there are 16 bits to denote the receiver window size, and that means 65,535 bytes. Okay, so you can multiply by 8 to get the number of bits. Will be receivable, okay, for every round trip time if you only open one TCP session. You can open multiple parallel TCP sessions if you want. Now, what is the round trip time? A typically good round trip time might be a few milliseconds, 10 milliseconds and so. But if you're talking about long distance and congested time, you can easily get to 100 milliseconds. Okay. Then we're talking about 65535 multiplied by 8 to get number of bits divided by 100 milliseconds, that is 0.1 second. And this is about 5.24 megabit per second. So I don't know about your physical layer, but by the time it propagates up to TCP, the transport layer 4, this limitation alone can make it no bigger than 5.24 megabit per second. Okay. Even if your physical layer can actually get to 315 megabit per second. A second example, okay, you've got some long distance links, and in the homework problem back in chapter 14, if you haven't done that yet, let me just tell you the answer is that the TCP throughput is upper bounded by MSS, which is shorthand for the maximum size of segment. Okay, so maximum segment size, which is fixed for TCP/IP at 1460 again bytes. Okay, over round trip time times square root of p, where p is the packet loss rate. So suppose you've got a long distance link, so the round trip time is pretty bad. And then there's a lot of congestion and packet drop, so P is pretty bad. For example, you have 1460 times 8 to get to bits divided by, again, easily 100 milliseconds. Okay? And let's say you got a 0.1, 10 to the minus 3 probability of packet drop, which is actually a very high number. Okay, you may think, hey, it's 0.001 is actually a very high number. Ideally, you want to get to like 10 to the minus 6 or something. Now, if you calculate this, this is about 3.69 megabit per second. Now, that's even worse than the 5.24 we just saw. Okay, just because in the transport layer, you got a bad end-to-end connection. Now it drops to less than 4 megabit per second, which actually still is not too bad. If you can get application layer throughput of 4 megabit per second, it's reasonable for many applications. But don't dream about 300 megabit per second. The third example is going to really kill you. This is what's going wrong with the end server. Okay, it's actually not the network that's wrong, but let's say there's a flash crowd, meaning suddenly a lot of people want to watch something. Let's say in a major sports event, a news event, they all want to crowd into, say, BBC.com. Okay, and suppose the BBC.com server is not well sized to take care of this kind of flash crowd. It probably is, but there are other kind of websites that are not. Then it will trigger the following so-called Nagel's algorithm. Okay. What it says is that don't send data as they become available. Okay, you can't generate data fast enough because of the server bottleneck, say the CPU speed, right? Then you just combine many small amounts of data together into a large packet and to better utilize the network. Okay. In doing so, however, the trade-off is while you're more efficient in using the network, you increase the delay now. For example, you may need now, instead of 4 round-trip time in order to actually send something out. Okay. And then what you see is the following. You get the MSS, okay, the maximum segment size. For each single segment, you get this number of bits, okay, 1460 times 8. And to send out this single small segment, you actually need to wait, say, 4 round-trip times. That is 0.1 times 4. Okay. Because the server is so congested, it just cannot give you all the data that you need. And now you're down to 29.2 kilobit per second. This is what kills you. And this is one of the reasons why sometimes go to a popular website. Even though you think, hey, the network should be good at this hour, okay, or I'm standing right beneath an ENO-B, okay, with my fancy LTE phone, why is it still so slow on my email server or video server? And sometimes that's because the other end, the server itself, is slow. And you can get to something like 30 kilobits per second, which was pretty good 20 years ago, but at this point, that is intolerably slow. So now we got smaller and smaller and smaller number. So it doesn't quite matter at this point what is your physical layer speed. Well, in summary, what we have seen today is the importance of control plane, is the importance of management overhead, and the importance of non-ideal network condition. In some sense, this lecture 19 is like the overhead lecture of the 20-lecture course. And back to that salesperson trying to sell you the LTE device. Now you know what to ask. Say, hold on a second. Don't give me a 300 megabit per second number. Okay, I don't believe that number. It's a true number. It's just not relevant to my actual user experience. Tell me what application, when, where are the measurement point of the speed, and which layer are you talking about? I guarantee you get a different answer. Probably you'll be kicked out of the store. And now we're moving on to the very last lecture of this whole course, and that is on the subject of fairness. Fairness in tech networks, fairness in social network.